That morning felt like every other morning. No miracle, no sign, just another day in darkness. As blind Bartimaeus sat by the roadside, he could hear the city waking up. Footsteps passing, voices rising, camels moving slowly along the dusty road. He really did not feel like coming out that day, but there was this urgency, as though he might miss out on something. Maybe someone would give him a large amount of shillings, enough to keep him off the streets for a day or two. But then again, it was probably just another ordinary day, or so he thought. That day he sat down again to beg, but not in the same place as before. Sometimes he would move around, just trying to find where life sounded louder. The day before, he had been sitting under a tree where there was shade, but it felt too quiet, too lonely. And silence has a way of making darkness feel heavier. Sometimes he had to choose, sit alone under the shade, with only his thoughts, or come closer to the city where there were voices and movement. Today he sat closer to the road. There was a tree nearby, but he did not sit beneath it. What mattered more was the sound of people. Familiar voices, familiar footsteps, and even if they only knew him as the blind man, at least here, he wasn't completely alone. His tummy rumbled a little, but he ignored it. Very soon someone might drop a piece of bread into his hands, or maybe not. By noon, the kind lady with the soft voice might send her daughter to bring him lunch. Well, maybe not. When you live in darkness long enough, you stop expecting much. You learn to live with little hope. Still, he listened carefully, because listening was all he had. Every sound painted a picture in his mind, a world he had never seen but tried to imagine. Have you ever been in a place where life felt the same every day? Where nothing seemed to change, and you just showed up because that's what you always do? If this story is already speaking to you, take a moment to subscribe. There are many more stories like this that might be exactly what you need. But that day felt different. The street seemed louder than usual. There were more footsteps, more movement, more urgency in the air. It was as if something unusual was happening. He tilted his head slightly, trying to understand what was going on, trying to judge the sounds and the distance between them. Sometimes he could guess what was happening around him. Other times, not even close. Then he heard it, a name moving through the crowd in whispers. People were saying it again and again. Jesus, Jesus of Nazareth is passing by. The moment he heard that name, something inside him stood still. He had heard stories about this man, Jesus. Some said he was a carpenter's son. Others said he was a prophet. Many said he was a healer, the miracle worker, the one who touched the broken and made them whole. The one people said opened blind eyes. And suddenly, blind Bartimaeus realized something. This was no longer just another day. This was a moment, an opportunity, possibly his only chance, a doorway he might never have again. In that instant, he knew he had a choice. Stay quiet like always, or reach for something more. And from somewhere deep inside him, courage rose. He began to shout, Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me. He shouted with no plans of stopping until someone heard him. The reaction of the crowd was mixed. Some people turned and frowned. Others felt irritated. Be quiet, they told him. Stop shouting. Don't you know who is passing by? To them, he was just a disturbance, a beggar making noise in an important moment. But for him, this was do or die. Shout until something happens. Jesus must hear me today. Have you ever been in a situation where people made you feel like your voice didn't matter? Where you were forced to stay quiet when everything inside you wanted to speak?
Son of David, have mercy on me! Help me! Help me! Son of David, have mercy on me!
Who is calling? Bring him to me.
Sometimes life tries to silence you at the very moment you are closest to your breakthrough. If you've ever felt that way, stay with this story and subscribe, because sometimes the encouragement you need comes right on time. This was not just shouting. This was desperation. This was a man who had lived too long in darkness and could not afford to miss his only chance at light. And when he realized people were trying to silence him, something even stronger rose inside him. He thought to himself, if I stay quiet now, this moment will pass me by. This miracle will walk right past me. And so he did the only thing he could do. He shouted louder, Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me. And then something happened. The noise in the street began to
Who is
shift.
calling?
Movement
Bring him to
slowed.
me.
Conversations paused. And in the middle of it all, he heard a voice say, Who is calling? Bring him to me. Jesus had heard. Jesus had stopped. Out of all the voices in that crowd, out of all the people surrounding him, he stopped for one blind man sitting by the road. Then the message came louder through the crowd. Call him. Bring him here. The same people who had tried to silence him were now helping him up. Hands that once pushed him aside were now guiding him forward. Step by step, he moved closer, not knowing exactly what would happen, but knowing something was about to change. Then he stood before Jesus, and Jesus asked him a simple question. What do you want me to do for you? It was a gentle question, an open invitation to a new life, a new world. Blind Bartimaeus answered with honesty, Rabbi, I want to see. Just a simple, honest desire. And then came the words that would change his life forever.
Receive your sight.
Receive your sight. And just like that, everything changed. Light broke into a life that had only known darkness. It happened so simply. One moment he was blind, the next moment he could see. Shapes, colors, trees, houses, faces. The world he had only imagined suddenly became real before his eyes. Tears filled his eyes as he looked around in wonder. The sky above him, the people around him, the very road where he used to sit and beg. Nothing looked the same anymore, because he was no longer the same. Thank you, Master. Thank you, Jesus. Jesus smiled at him and continued his walk into the city. Bartimaeus followed him. People cheered and rejoiced. Even those who had told him to be quiet now celebrated with him, their earlier words forgotten. If this story touched your heart, consider subscribing and staying with us. There are many more stories of faith, courage, and quiet miracles waiting for you here.